Have you ever wondered why, as we get older, the friendships and connections that once seemed so essential to our lives start to slip away? Why do some relationships, that once brought joy and comfort, start to feel more like a burden, where the costs far outweigh the benefits? And perhaps most surprising of all, why does retirement, often imagined as a time for rest, relaxation, and enjoying life, sometimes end up bringing a sense of loneliness and being left behind? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the hidden truths of life after 60. Insights that many people only realize when it's too late. We'll explore why certain friendships may no longer serve you, how to gracefully let go of expectations, and how to find peace and fulfillment during retirement. Along the way, we'll uncover the subtle but powerful ways society shifts its perspective on you once you're retired and how to navigate these changes without losing your sense of self-worth. If you've ever felt like time starts to slow down after 60 or wondered how to find genuine happiness in your later years, this video is for you. By the end, you'll discover powerful strategies for embracing solitude, deepening your family relationships, and creating a life of contentment and freedom that doesn't depend on validation from others. This journey is all about shifting your mindset. We'll uncover valuable wisdom that can transform the way you view aging, retirement, and relationships. You may even find that the golden years you've been anticipating can be much more fulfilling than you ever imagined. So stick with us as we unravel these profound insights that can reshape your perspective on this exciting stage of life. These lessons have the potential to change the way you experience your golden years. Maybe for good. If you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an important update. Your support means the world to me, and if you found this video helpful, please like and share it to help me continue spreading these valuable insights. As the years pass, we often come to a subtle yet profound realization. Maintaining friendships, particularly as we age, may no longer hold the same weight or urgency we once attributed to them. Friendships, those once vibrant and essential connections that nourished our souls, gradually begin to feel like complex tapestries woven with threads of emotional, physical, and sometimes financial costs. The love and effort we invested into these bonds are often overshadowed by the burdens they carry. Burdens we hadn't fully anticipated when we were younger. And so, we start to question, do these relationships still serve me, or am I simply clinging to them out of habit, nostalgia, or a misguided sense of obligation? In his poignant fable, the author Jamdo Bo tells the tale of a city mouse who, driven by the desire to reconnect with a long-lost country mouse friend, sets out on a journey. They had planned to meet at a specific spot, and with eager anticipation, the city mouse embarked on the journey, trusting in his friend's instructions and the familiarity of the path. Little did he know, life had other plans. The city mouse boarded the train, full of hope and excitement, but as fate would have it, his well-laid plans were soon derailed by unforeseen circumstances. Expecting the train to stop at Beddington Station, the city mouse's heart sank when the train rushed past, bypassing the station altogether. It was Sunday, and the schedule had been altered, leaving him stranded and helpless. A feeling of panic began to rise within him, a sense of powerlessness washing over him like a heavy tide. Eventually, the city mouse was dropped at mid-station, miles away from his intended destination. Determined to salvage what was left of his journey, he hurried to the bus stop, only to discover that the last bus of the day had already departed. Frustration took root, feeding on his growing sense of helplessness. He crouched in a shadowy corner, seething with anger at the turn of events. And then, as the weight of the situation settled in, an overwhelming truth emerged. Timing, place, and circumstances matter more than we ever imagined. In this moment, the city mouse realized the importance of being in the right place at the right time, not only for physical journeys but also for the emotional and mental satisfaction that comes with shared moments and mutual connection. This misadventure mirrors the bittersweet experiences of many older individuals as they step into the phase of retirement. These individuals, eager to reconnect with their past and the friends and family they once cherished, often attempt to revive relationships that no longer carry the same emotional resonance. The yearning to revisit the familiar faces and places of youth is strong, and with heartfelt intentions, they may bring tokens of affection, fruits, trinkets, or mementos, hoping to rekindle old bonds and reignite the warmth they once shared. The air of the countryside, once a breath of pure joy, now feels heavier, as though weighted with time. The crisp sip of cool well water, once refreshing and invigorating, no longer tastes quite as sweet as it once did. The journey, which seemed so simple in the past, now feels fraught with obstacles. Steep hills that now seem daunting, familiar roads that now cause dizziness and discomfort. The body, no longer as resilient as it once was, betrays them, turning what was once an easy adventure into a taxing ordeal. In this season of life, we are often caught in the painful contradiction of wanting to give and connect, but finding that the physical and emotional energy required to do so is no longer as abundant. We may have the heart, the desire, and the goodwill to go the distance, but we are confronted by a stark reality. Others may no longer share the same enthusiasm or vitality. The fruits we offer, though filled with the purest of intentions, may not be received with the same warmth and eagerness that once greeted our efforts. In the quiet, unwelcome truths of retirement, we come face to face with the harsh reality that our value in the eyes of others has diminished. The gratitude that once flowed freely may begin to feel obligatory, even strained. Those who once embraced our presence may start to view our visits as burdens rather than blessings, and what was once a welcomed connection may now feel like an imposition. The realization is painful, perhaps even more so because it is unspoken, nestled deep within the shifting dynamics of life and relationships. As we grow older, we may begin to see that, just as with the city mouse's journey, the simple, joyful moments we once took for granted may no longer be as easily accessible. Timing, energy, and mutual understanding are no longer given. They must be earned and respected by both parties. And in this quiet understanding, we come to learn that sometimes the best way to honor a friendship is to let it evolve naturally, to accept that the warmth of past connections may not burn as brightly as it once did, and that this, too, is part of the inevitable, painful beauty of life's unfolding story. For those who once depended on you, your inability to offer help as freely and easily as you once did can ignite feelings of resentment, even bitterness. What was once a smooth, natural flow of mutual support and effortless camaraderie may now feel strained, frayed at the edges by the weight of unmet expectations and the stark reality that things have irrevocably changed. Relationships that seemed unshakable, built on years of shared experiences and trust, now begin to crumble under the pressure of what is no longer possible. Even those who are genuinely glad to see you, people who once cherished your presence, may, without meaning to, cause you more grief than comfort. They may not realize it, but their need for the same support you once gave so freely is now a burden that you cannot shoulder with the same generosity. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Trying to maintain these relationships, clinging to them as though nothing has shifted, can be draining and emotionally exhausting. What once felt like small gestures of kindness, gifts, words of encouragement, invitations, now seem more like heavy obligations, actions that must be performed to preserve the fragile semblance of connection. What was once an act of love, a small act of care, has transformed into an unspoken demand. The weight of these efforts, once light and effortless, can now feel like a suffocating cloak, wrapping around you with every attempt to keep up appearances. And then, as the layers of pretension peel away, the truth hits you with the force of a sudden storm. You begin to realize, perhaps with a sharp pang of sorrow, that the connections you thought were strong may not be what you believed them to be. The friendships you once held dear might not have been built on the solid foundation of trust and understanding but on convenience, obligation, or even mutual benefit. As the pretense crumbles, you are left with a hard, undeniable truth. Some relationships are born out of necessity, not genuine affection. Yet, in this painful awareness, you may find a surprising peace. The peace that comes with shedding the weight of obligation, with accepting that some friendships, like seasons, must fade and make way for new phases of life. Take Jim, for example, one of my old colleagues. Jim was once a supervisor, the kind of boss who enjoyed playing cards with his subordinates, treating them to moments of camaraderie and seemingly effortless fun. There was something magnetic about Jim. People respected him and admired him, not just for his professional expertise, but because his position as boss commanded an unspoken reverence. He was used to the admiration, the deference, the loyalty that came with his role, and it felt as though he could depend on it forever. But once Jim retired, reality delivered a blow he had never anticipated. He invited a few of us, his former colleagues, for a friendly game of table tennis. It was meant to be light-hearted, nostalgic, a way to relive some of the easy camaraderie we had shared during the years we worked together. But for the first time, Jim didn't win. He lost badly. Frustration simmered beneath the surface, and it didn't take long before his irritation bubbled over. "Don't you think you should give me a little leeway?" he snapped, his voice tinged with annoyance. The room fell silent, the tension palpable. It was then that Tom, one of his old subordinates, stood up and, with surprising firmness, responded, "Do you still think you're my boss? We're both retired now." Jim was taken aback. For the first time, someone had challenged him and questioned the authority he had taken for granted for so long. The respect that once flowed from his title was gone, dissipated like smoke, leaving behind nothing but a hollow shell of what it used to be. When Jim was still working, people treated him with reverence, perhaps even fear, motivated by the benefits of being in his good graces. They smiled at his jokes and nodded at his words, not out of genuine affection, but because it was in their best interest. Once he retired, the dynamic shifted dramatically. The mask of professional respect disappeared. Those who had once been eager to please no longer had any reason to do so. They no longer needed his approval to climb the corporate ladder, and as a result, the facade crumbled. It was a bitter pill for Jim to swallow, a painful realization that many of the relationships he had cherished were based on mutual benefit, not true friendship. The people who had smiled at him, who had celebrated his success, were no longer bound by the invisible ties of professional survival. In this sobering moment, Jim, like all of us, had to face the uncomfortable truth. Life is full of masks. We wear them to navigate the complex web of expectations, social dynamics, and personal desires. We smile when others smile, laugh when they laugh, and offer help when it benefits us. We show respect, admiration, and praise, but it is often conditional, based on what we stand to gain. Titles, positions, and office politics are the masks we wear, and the roles we play. But once we step outside those roles, once the masks come off, we see things as they truly are. The people who once relied on us, the ones who cheered us on, or even those who once used us to climb higher, are they truly our friends? The truth, however painful, becomes clear. When the masks come off, you begin to see who really stands by you, and who was only there for the ride. Retirement, in many ways, forces an undeniable, often painful shift from the comforting illusions we once held to the raw, unvarnished truths of our lives. It's a wake-up call that stirs up an emotional storm, confronting us with the reality that many of our relationships were nothing more than convenient transactions, anchored in shared interests, mutual benefits, and the unspoken understanding that we both stood to gain something. What was once an effortless, automatic bond now feels like a choice, a decision that has to be consciously made. And in this quiet, heart-wrenching revelation, we realize that true, genuine friendships in retirement can be incredibly scarce and almost impossibly rare. Take, for instance, those social gatherings you used to attend with ease. In the days when someone would simply offer to drive you without a second thought, the very idea of transportation felt like a minor detail. Now, the tables have turned. You're left alone, navigating the logistics of getting yourself to places, feeling the weight of each step more than ever before. You find yourself taking the bus, or driving yourself, and even the simplest task now feels like an exhausting uphill climb. You long, deeply, for those old friends to join you on your outings, to relive the carefree days when their company made everything brighter. But as the days slip by, you realize they are still consumed by the rush of their work lives. Their careers remain their priority. The pursuit of something that benefits them is still what drives them, while you are left behind. Your invitations are met with excuses, empty reasons, or explanations that sting with the truth. Their lives are now centered around acquiring more, doing more, and pleasing those who can still offer them something. The stark reality is laid bare for you. Many relationships, it turns out, are simply rooted in what can be gained. It's an emotional blow, a reminder that, for so many, connections are transactional, even when you hoped for something deeper. And when, on rare occasions, you do manage to reconnect with old friends for a drink, the atmosphere feels thick with the weight of change. The seats around the table are no longer the same. The laughter that once flowed effortlessly seems strained and distant. The once familiar ambience now feels hollow, the air charged with an awkward tension. You speak, offering your thoughts and experiences, but the responses are fewer and more distant. The respect that once flowed naturally has shifted into a chilling silence, an uncomfortable indifference. You are no longer the person whose opinions are met with eager enthusiasm. The warmth that once surrounded you has been replaced by the uncomfortable cold of unspoken truths. And in those moments, it becomes painfully clear that you are no longer the center of attention. You're no longer the life of the party, and that adjustment, though quiet, cuts deep. The shift is almost unbearable at times, as you grapple with the reality that things will never be the same again. The comfortable rhythms of your previous life are gone, and in their place, you're left with the difficult task of accepting a new, unfamiliar version of yourself in a world that has moved on. Retirement, in its quiet way, serves as a stark reminder that life moves in stages, each one a reflection of the relationships and connections that form around us at different times in our journey. At first, they are driven by shared interests, mutual benefit, and the exhilaration of mutual ambition. But as we age, those relationships evolve. They become less about what we can offer and more about the simple, unspoken bonds that form between those who have little to gain from one another. These are the rarest of connections, but when we find them, they carry a depth and meaning that can only be forged through time, experience, and mutual understanding. The truth is, if you want peace, acceptance, and a sense of contentment in your retirement, it's essential to embrace the few who remain by your side. Even if they've grown distant, even if the bond has cooled, they are the ones who matter most. Understanding this shift, learning to live without the masks of pretense, can offer you a newfound sense of clarity and peace as you navigate the golden years of your life. For those fortunate enough to have worked in an organization beyond the age of 50, you may have noticed a subtle yet heartbreaking shift in your role over time. It happens gradually, almost imperceptibly, at first. You find yourself being sidelined, with your responsibilities diminished and your role in the workplace shrinking. The feeling of being valued, of being seen and heard, begins to slip through your fingers. The recognition that once filled you with pride becomes a distant memory. By the time you approach your retirement day, it's as if you are already a shadow of the person you once were at work. Quietly, you pack your things into a box, your personal belongings reduced to insignificant trinkets, and make your way out of the office. The final goodbye is fleeting. Perhaps a colleague or two offers a quick farewell, but even then, you feel it. These goodbyes are hollow, simply part of the process. No one lingers to reflect on the years you gave to the company, and the silence that fills the room speaks volumes. The departure is not accompanied by a sense of fondness or sentimentality. It is a stark reminder that, in the end, people come and go, and the workplace is just another chapter in the grand, unpredictable story of life. Retirement is often perceived as the closing chapter of a long and meaningful journey, a moment that can feel like the end of an era. But let's pause for a moment and reflect. Retirement is not the end of your life. It is the beginning of a profound new phase. As time passes, you may come to understand something deeply meaningful about the lives of retirees who live contentedly. These individuals often maintain only a handful of close, trusted friends, and their once vibrant, bustling social lives tend to quiet down. They may not speak as often or as loudly as they once did, but their world has transformed into a place of intimate connection, deeply centered around the precious love of family. Gone are the days when you were the director, the one making high-stakes decisions, commanding teams, and leading with authority. Now, your identity may have evolved. You might be a grandfather, a grandmother, an anchor of love, wisdom, and warmth in your family's life. This transition can be jarring, perhaps even daunting. But within this change lies an incredible opportunity, a chance to rediscover a kind of joy and fulfillment that transcends what you once knew. Embrace this new chapter fully, for it is not the twilight of your existence, but the dawn of something tender, fulfilling, and deeply meaningful. If you are fortunate to be in good health, there's no reason why you should not dive into the richness of being a grandparent. Imagine the joy of spending your days with your grandchildren, playing with them, watching their faces light up with wonder, and sharing in the simple but profound pleasure of nurturing their hearts. You can offer your children invaluable support, helping them as they navigate the challenges of raising their families. These are the moments that truly matter, the ones that will leave an indelible mark on your heart. And beyond your family, perhaps you could embark on adventures with your spouse, exploring the world in a way that doesn't require a tour guide or a group of acquaintances to validate your experiences. Life has more meaning when it is focused on the people who matter most, the ones who walk beside you every day. During the holidays, consider gathering your loved ones around a simple, yet meaningful family reunion meal. It doesn't have to be grand or elaborate. It can be as humble as it needs to be, as long as it is filled with the warmth of connection and love. In today's world, social media and external validation often tempt us into showcasing our lives for others. But here's a liberating thought. You don't need to post for anyone. You don't need a wide-reaching audience to affirm your worth. The less you share with the outside world, the more peaceful and serene your life may become. In the quiet, unspoken moments shared with your family, you may discover a deeper sense of peace and belonging that surpasses any external recognition. It is often in retirement that we uncover the true essence of happiness. As the years pass and the busyness of life fades, we realize that the greatest treasures lie not in accolades or the rush of success, but in the simple, quiet moments with those we love. There's an old saying, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. And yet, in the stillness of life's later years, when we stop seeking validation from the outside world, we can experience something profoundly beautiful: contentment. The beauty of lowering we expect is that we come to understand that happiness doesn't lie in a crowd of friends or the constant demand for attention. Instead, we find joy in the moments of solitude, in the peaceful rhythm of life. You are not alone. You are surrounded by the richness of love, the treasure of family. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The presence of elderly family members in the home is a priceless gift, one that we should cherish with every fiber of our being. As we grow older, we must reconnect with our natural essence and embrace the tranquility that comes with this stage of life. There's no need to chase after ambitions that no longer serve us. The later years of life are a time for simplicity, for returning to the things that matter most. The quiet joys of a life well lived, the satisfaction of knowing we have loved and been loved deeply. I am reminded of the story of Master Kwong, a wise elderly man who, despite his years, remained sharp in mind and spirit. Even in his advanced age, he was a trusted advisor to King Chu Vu Vong Trong. It brings to mind the timeless words of the ancient Chinese leader, Cao Cao. Old does not mean worn out, and even if a horse is old in the stable, its intellect remains sharp. While such stories are inspiring, it's important to recognize that constantly seeking inspiration from external tales may eventually feel like too much chicken soup. It loses its flavor. In the end, the key to contentment in old age is not to cling to the past or attempt to be someone you're not. True peace comes when you embrace your age, when you arrange your life with balance, mindfulness, and a deep sense of acceptance. Most importantly, we must accept that we are ordinary people, and that's okay. By the time we reach 60, we've entered the later chapters of our lives. And in these chapters, we are no longer defined by relentless striving, but by the constant pursuit of more. Instead, we find peace in the simplicity of being. The moments that truly matter, those that fill us with deep contentment, are not found in the chase for success but in the appreciation of what we already have. In these quieter years, we find the sweet serenity of living fully, just as we are, exactly as we were meant to be. As we age, there's a painful, undeniable truth that many of us fight to avoid. The world doesn't need our voices anymore. The brutal realization that we are no longer as significant, as vital, can feel like a slow, suffocating loss. One writer, once a titan in the literary world, felt this sting firsthand, and his story serves as a heart-wrenching reminder of what so many of us face as we grow older. In his prime, he was a revered figure, admired for his published works, his editorial role in a prestigious literary magazine, and his ability to command a room with his words. When he spoke, people listened, captivated by the wisdom he shared. He felt like a force, important, influential, seen. But the day he turned 60, a shadow began to fall over that sense of worth. Retirement, something he had anticipated with both excitement and dread, became a silent thief, stealing the relevance he had once known. His once vibrant sense of importance, that cherished sense of purpose, began to slip away with startling swiftness, leaving behind an aching void. Determined not to fade into obscurity, he ventured into the world of social media, hoping to breathe new life into his passion for literature, to share his experience with a new generation. He crafted posts with eager anticipation, thinking surely his words would resonate. But when he hit send, the silence that followed was deafening, agonizingly so. No one cared. Views were few, likes were non-existent, and comments were an echo of nothingness. His voice, once a powerful presence, had become an empty whisper in a world that no longer heard him. Undeterred, he pressed on, convinced that his next post would spark the connection he longed for. But each day, his words sank deeper into the abyss of indifference, until he could no longer deny the crushing reality. The virtual world he had hoped would embrace him only seemed to mock his efforts. He didn't stop there. He reached out to institutions, desperate to share his wealth of knowledge, to teach for free if necessary. But they turned away, unwilling to give him the space he craved to pass on his wisdom. His heart, heavy with the weight of his experience, poured itself into a memoir, a final attempt to leave behind something meaningful. But even this effort, his last testament, was ignored. When he placed it on the family table, it gathered dust, untouched, unnoticed. His flesh and blood, those who should have valued him the most, let it lie forgotten. And then, one day, his young grandson came to visit, offering to help with some tech tasks. With a casual remark, the boy said, "Grandpa, you are so outdated. Let me do it for you." Within moments, the child had completed the task using software the writer had never even heard of. In that instant, the crushing truth dawned on him. He was obsolete. His time had passed. He was no longer a figure of authority or influence. This moment of realization is a painful, inevitable rite of passage for many elderly people. We grow up believing that our experience, our hard-earned wisdom, will always be our most treasured gifts. But, as time marches on, we discover that these once prized assets often fade into irrelevance. We try to assert ourselves, to reclaim our place in a world that seems to have moved on without us. We pour our hearts into seeking validation, whether through social media, teaching, or writing, but are often met with indifference or rejection. We may cling to the belief that our knowledge is invaluable, that our stories hold weight, only to be dismissed as relics of a bygone era. In a society that elevates newness, innovation, and youth, the voices of the elderly are too often drowned out, ignored, or forgotten. The loneliness that arises from this isolation is palpable, heavy, suffocating. Compounding this pain is the stark reality of family dynamics in the modern age. In times past, we might have dreamed of passing down a legacy to our children, something of true value, something to be cherished. But today, many families are smaller, some without children at all, and the idea of leaving behind a family estate feels like a fading fantasy. For those who do have children, the complexities of passing on a legacy become even more pressing. What if that child, the one who was supposed to carry the torch, chooses not to marry, or doesn't have children of their own? What becomes of your legacy then? What remains when there is no one left to pass it on to? This question gnaws at the heart, a reminder of how fragile our legacies truly are. The harsh reality for countless families today is that the comforting support structure that once existed between generations is rapidly crumbling. The golden vision of an extended family, a network of care and companionship, seems more like a distant memory for so many older adults. In today's world, the elderly often find themselves navigating their final years in painful isolation, living alone, or perhaps only with their spouse. The family, once seen as an unwavering source of love, comfort, and support, increasingly feels like a fragile thread, one that no longer binds as it once did. For many seniors, the weight of this emotional abandonment is crushing, as they come to the devastating realization that their children, for reasons that range from their own demanding lives to the unrelenting pressures of modern society, can no longer care for them in the way they had once hoped. The cold truth of aging hits with a sharpness that cannot be ignored. The connections that once seemed so solid, so unbreakable, begin to erode, and with them, the roles we once cherished, the roles that defined us, no longer hold the same meaning. Time, ever the unyielding force, relentlessly pushes forward, leaving the elderly behind, struggling under the crushing weight of irrelevance. The transition from being a respected, valued member of the workforce to feeling like an invisible, obsolete figure is one of the most painful and soul-wrenching aspects of growing older. It's not just a loss of status. It's a loss of identity, of purpose, and a reminder that nothing is permanent in this world. And yet, even amid this profound loss, there is a lesson to be learned, though it is a bitter one to swallow. It is painful, excruciating even, to come to terms with the loss of social standing, to watch as the recognition and validation that once flowed freely now feels as distant as a dream. But the beauty of growing older lies in the quiet acceptance of this shift. There is a rare and unparalleled peace that comes with relinquishing the need to constantly be seen, to be heard, to be validated. The true gift of later years is not found in chasing what has been lost, but rather in finding solace in what remains. It is about accepting that the most fulfilling moments in life may not come from reclaiming past glory, but in adjusting expectations and discovering joy in solitude, in intimate family connections, and in the quiet, simple moments that offer a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. The greatest challenge in this transition is to embrace it with grace, to acknowledge that your worth is not determined by how many likes your social media posts garner or how often your name is spoken in bustling meetings. It is defined by the quieter, more profound connections you nurture, no matter how small they may be. Your true value is found in the moments of joy, reflection, and emotional peace that come with accepting the ebb and flow of life's seasons. It is finding meaning in the fleeting moments that make later years rich with purpose, even when society has moved on. When you reach the milestone of 60, a profound and often difficult question arises. Should you continue to bear the weight of supporting your children, even as they move forward and build their own lives? It's a dilemma that weighs heavily on the hearts of many aging parents. The desire to nurture, to help, to give, but the quiet yet undeniable realization that you cannot carry the burdens of others forever. If you find yourself facing this difficult truth, know that the wisest, most loving choice is often to let go. No matter how tightly you cling to your wealth, no matter how many properties you accumulate, you cannot change the number of children you have, nor can you mold them into something they are not. It is a harsh truth, but one that is essential to preserving your peace of mind. As you grow older, it becomes crucial to thoughtfully, even painfully, divide your assets, ensuring that each child has the means to stand on their own. After all, children grow up, form their own families, and become the pillars of their households. Your role, as a parent, is to guide them in their formative years and offer emotional support throughout their lives, but it is not to financially sustain them indefinitely. Embrace the beauty of letting them go, for in doing so, you offer them the greatest gift of all: the opportunity to live their own lives, free from dependence, and to stand tall on their own, just as you once did. If you have only one child, it is crucial, deeply important, to recognize the value of fostering their independence. The wisdom here lies not in simply giving them everything they desire, but in guiding them to stand strong on their own 2 feet. When financial support is necessary, it should be offered as a loan, not a gift, creating a healthy boundary that promotes self-reliance. You and your child are no longer part of the same family unit, at least not in the way you once were. The lines should be drawn clearly and without hesitation. Overlapping your lives, emotionally and financially, too much can sow the seeds of dependency, resentment, and, ultimately, a loss of both personal and familial autonomy. It's about allowing them to find their way, to make their own decisions, without constantly leaning on your support. The time has come for both of you to thrive separately, while still holding each other in love and respect from a distance. As you approach retirement, or step fully into the later chapters of your life, remember this time is not simply for looking back. It's a time for rejuvenation, for reclaiming your sense of self and joy in the present. It's not about acquiring more wealth or trying to turn back time. Those days are behind you. The wealth you have saved up is no longer the focal point it once was. If you have a pension, if you've lived prudently, that's enough. Now, money is meant to be spent. Spent on experiences that nourish your soul, spent on adventures that open your heart, spent on the joy of discovery, of travel, of connection. Hoarding wealth in the hopes of increasing your security serves no one, especially not your children. It can inadvertently foster a sense of entitlement, an unhealthy dependency that robs them of their growth and independence. Many retirees harbor dreams of recreating their former success. They envision themselves following the footsteps of those rare stories of people who launched new careers, wrote best-selling books, or started flourishing businesses well into their 60s or 70s. These stories, though inspiring, are the rare exceptions, glimmering moments that do not reflect the reality most face. Success at an older age is not the rule. It's the exception, often romanticized in the media. While the idea is tempting, the truth is that for every elderly person who manages to reinvent themselves, there are countless others whose attempts go unnoticed, and whose passions wither in the face of reality. How many elderly individuals can you name who truly achieved remarkable success late in life? The numbers are few, and we must acknowledge that this narrative, while hopeful, can mislead us into unrealistic expectations. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Retirement often brings a flood of ideas, a desire to return to a former profession, to dive into a newfound passion, or even to seek fame in an entirely new arena. But before pursuing these ventures, consider carefully. These may not be the wisest choices. Returning to a career you once knew may lead to frustration as younger generations dismiss the value of your experience, perhaps even mocking the relevance of your years of hard work. Similarly, pursuing a new path, no matter how much time and energy you invest, can sometimes feel like wearing an ill-fitting suit, trying to fit an old self into a new identity that doesn't quite fit. It's often more satisfying, more fulfilling, to embrace hobbies and passions that are not about achievement or recognition, but about enjoyment, pure and simple. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. The only measure of success now is your happiness, your peace of mind. Let these activities be for you, not for external validation, and you will find a deeper satisfaction that nothing else can provide. The true beauty of retirement lies in its simplicity, the freedom it grants you to rest, to release yourself from the relentless grind of work, to finally live without the pressures that once defined you. So, why return to that grind? Why chase new ventures or accolades? That path only leads to more exhaustion and more dissatisfaction. One wise individual once shared the insight that after the age of 60, life becomes its best, gentler, freer, and filled with fewer worries. Your children now have their own families, and your grandchildren are embarking on their journeys. Each day, you are given the gift of time, the time to simply live, to savor the fleeting beauty of life, to cherish its simplicity. Don't squander it chasing something that no longer serves you. In aging, there is often a lingering dissatisfaction, an urge to cling tightly to what we cannot control, our children's success, our career, our financial wealth. But this clinging is counterproductive. It is natural to feel that pull, but fighting against the tide only creates inner turmoil. You can either continue to wrestle with this unfillable void, or you can make the courageous decision to choose peace. Let go of the past. Let go of what no longer serves you. Embrace the present, its imperfections, its fleeting moments of joy, its quiet beauty. This is the path to true contentment, to a soul that is at rest. As someone once profoundly said, people are like waves on the shore. They come and go, and you fall gently into the sand. The irony of aging is that the more we try to control the course of our lives, the less freedom we have. True freedom comes when we release the need to hold tightly to every little thing and when we stop trying to control every moment. Let go, and you will find a quiet peace, a quiet satisfaction, in simply being. And in that, you will discover a happiness that no amount of wealth or achievement could ever provide. As we wrap up this conversation, take a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed today. What have you learned so far? How can these insights about independence, the wisdom of aging, and the true value of retirement impact the way you approach your own life? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below sharing one thing you've learned and how you plan to bring it into practice in your journey. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next video.